Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Draw My Life, the Whiteboy7thst edition. So many of you out there requested that I make one of these videos, and I figured I have a pretty interesting story. I'm going to tell it. So, where does one begin? Where does one start? Well, I started from the bottom, now we're here. But how did we get here? It definitely wasn't a straight line, more of a roller coaster ride full of ups, downs, really downs, loop-de-loops, twists and turns, a wide range of emotions. So, as a fetus, I was very anxious to get into this world. So I dolphin dove into the world 2 weeks prematurely with a minor heart condition. I actually had to stay in the hospital on monitoring devices for about 2 weeks, and then I got to go home and I still was on this heart monitoring device, but it turned out that I was a healthy, happy young boy, and I don't remember too much of my early childhood, but looking back on family albums, picture albums, I always had a smile on my face, and I was always in a different place doing something and enjoying my life, and I had a good childhood, even though my mom and dad split up when I was about 3 or 4. They were never married, but they were together for a very long time. So after they split up, I was raised by a single mother, but my dad was still a huge part of my life. I got to see him at least once a week, and now that I look back at it, it was actually kind of cool, because when I did get to sleep over at my dad's house on weekends, we got to watch, the R-rated movies, hang out late, eat whatever. So it was kind of a cool balance. And moving on, as a kid, from what I could remember, and this is probably the time that is responsible for molding me into the weird individual and man that I am today, from first to about 5th grade, what I did was cartoons, a bunch of cartoons. I loved wrestling. It was the WWF back then. We're talking old school, not the WWE, but the WWF. And me and my dad actually got to go to one of the events live, and it was a pay-per-view event, so it was one of the higher tier ones, and it was amazing. I remember having my sign. I think my sign got on TV. I was cheering for The Rock and Stone Cold. And after the event, because we kind of sat pretty high, but after the event we got to go down, and I was like right next to the ring, and that was absolutely amazing. And I really liked Pokemon. I was a huge Pokemon fanatic. The cards, the cartoons. I played the Game Boy game religiously. I caught them all, goddammit. And my favorite Pokemon was Alakazam, because he was always kind of mysterious. So my best friend from elementary school lived about 6 blocks away from me in my neighborhood, and he was also into Pokemon. But one day, he ended up stealing a majority of my cards, so I gave up on Pokemon as well as that friendship. So I'm about 11 years old at the time, and I just lost my best friend from childhood as well as Pokemon, a devastating loss for me at the time. So I had no one to play with outside or no one to play with inside. So I'm searching for something to preoccupy my free time as a child, and I lived 2 way different lives. On one side, I would play Pokemon, I would collect the cards, watch wrestling, cartoons, more geeky, nerdy activities. And then on the opposite side, when I caught them all, or when wrestling wasn't on, I would go outside, play football, skateboard, and sometimes get into some hooligan activities, because we didn't have much money growing up, so we eventually found our own ways to have fun. And then a few months later, my 7th Street friends, which you guys know to this day, moved down the block, and they had a huge family, 7 kids in total. And I was already going to school with Laura, which is now my god sister. We were in the same grade. And when they moved onto the block, I would hang out with her and her brothers on the bus stop, and that eventually led to hanging outside of school, after school, and we just became the best of friends. And this is where the nickname Whiteboy7thst, which I still use to this day, came from. So I was hanging out almost every single day with my newly found friends, with the younger brothers, the brothers that were around my age. And then there was a set of older brothers that we really didn't hang out because they were like 15, 16, 17. I was 11. We didn't really have much in common besides the fact that I was there all the time with their younger brothers. And I swear for like 3 weeks, they did not know my actual name. And since I was the only young Caucasian male in my neighborhood, they just called me White Boy. Very descriptive. I was the only white boy. I was the only one who would look when they would say white boy. And it stuck. And 7th Street was the street that we grew up on, and that was our little clique. And that's how the legend started. So throughout my middle school years, my relationship with my 7th Street friends just grew and grew and grew to the point where I was spending more nights over there than I would my actual house during the summer and weekends, and I would go to all types of family events with them. I went to church with them, eventually became baptized, and their mom and dad became my godfather and godmother, and eventually became part of the family and the 8th sibling, which was awesome to me because growing up, I was the only child. I didn't have brothers and sisters to play with, and I just became one of them. So moving on to my freshman year in high school, I was 15 at this point, still trying to figure life out, and I still had two very different lifestyles. On one side, I wanted to be this popular kid, go to parties, be cool, but on the other side, I was playing a game called RuneScape on the internet. I had 99 cooking, I had 84 fletching, 89 strength. If you don't know what any of these stats mean, basically I was really into RuneScape, and it's one of those MMO RPG LOL 1337 games that take a lot of your time up. And I played that game until junior year, and I don't regret it one bit because look at me now. I'm not doing athletic, cool things. I'm on the internet a majority of my time, and I think that definitely helped shape me into the man that I am today on the internet and in the real world. So that played a huge role in my life. And I think that's when I started to fall in love with the internet culture, just the internet and the awesomeness that it brings. I gotta tell you, I freaking love the internet. Anyways, so freshman and sophomore year go smoothly. I meet a whole bunch of new friends. I lose my virginity. I'm going to parties. I'm having a blast, just being a kid in high school, just trying to have a good time. So junior year rolls along, and I gotta tell you, time flies while you're in high school. When you're a senior, you gotta be like, what the hell happened to these last 4 years? Where did it go? So I decide to take my talents to the Alexander Hamilton football team, and I sign up for football. And one of my biggest regrets in high school was the fact that I didn't sign up for football earlier, just because I was nervous and I felt that it was going to be awkward or something. I thought they weren't going to like me. So I eventually get the balls to sign up for football, and it was a blast. I met a whole bunch of new friends, lots of new experiences, and I did pretty well. I started junior varsity, and I actually remember me and a bunch of the football team went to a local sporting goods store, and we stole a bunch of like football gloves and stuff, and I began to sell it to my other friends on the football team because I needed money, and I did a bunch of things to get money back in the day because, to be honest, we were broke and I wanted to do cool things, and cool things cost money. So I ended up like going and buying these 24 packs of Gatorade and then selling them for $1 each when the 24 pack only cost me like $10. So I ended up making money that way. I was selling gum. I would eat worms. I would jump into the pond, dolphin dive for like $10 to entertain my 7th Street friends. And I did what I had to do, and the hustle was real. The grind was definitely real, and the hustle was real. So junior year finishes with me in track because I'm trying to prepare my body for my senior year of football. I want to get into shape, and that went well. I was running every day. I was in the best shape of my life, and then out of nowhere, my grandma Betty passes away because she has a heart attack at the age of 82. And this was my first experience with death. I have a relatively small family, and it just got a little bit smaller. Grandma Betty was a big part of raising me. When my mom had to go to work, she gave me to Grandma Betty, and Grandma Betty was in the neighborhood. we would have the best time. I remember making these big chains with the bread ties, the little ties on the top of bread. You can like fold them into little chains. We did that a bunch. We did things with popcorn. I remember I had string, and I would go all over the kitchen like Spider-Man and string up the whole room and trap my grandma in the middle of it. My grandma would troll my mom and say, "Oh, we lost Alex, you have to find him." And then my grandma was like, hide, your mom's coming. So we would play hide and seek. And that was my first experience with death. And Grandma Betty was a big part of my life. I remember she gave me $100 freshman year to buy school clothes. And that was a big deal, not only for me, but for her too, because she was living off of Social Security. And she gave me a nice portion of her check so I can look nice for high school. So after that happened, I kind of lost. I didn't know what to do. I remember during the first week, I woke up and there was like a tequila bottle next to me. My room was absolutely trashed. Like dressers were on the floor. My TV was on the floor. There's a bunch of sleeping pills on the floor. I didn't know what I was doing, if I was trying to get fucked up, if I was trying to commit suicide. I don't know, but I really, really missed my grandma. And that's when I started to smoke pot. I waited till I was about 17, and then I just started doing it a lot because it helped me escape from the sadness. It helped me get away. It helped me feel better about myself, and it helped my depression. So I never ended up going to football for my senior year. I was smoking a bunch. I was like, I'll sign up next week. I'll go next week, whatever. And I never did football my senior year. And I feel kind of bad about that. I wish I would have. It would have been fun. I know it. But I was going through some things, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Maybe I could have, but I was just too weak. And then later on, senior year, I'm still like, I'm not sure what to do. My mom's pressuring me to go to college and whatever. And I end up signing up for carpentry because my dad is a carpenter. And he's a very good one. He was building patio decks. He built me skateboard ramps. He built my 7th Street porch, which still holds to this day. He was very, very good at it. So I wasn't really too sure what to do, and I felt like my mom was pressuring me, so I signed up for carpentry, and I felt that my dad would help me along through it, and we could work together or something. And at the same time, I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the video, where I would see my dad every week. And one day we went on a field trip in elementary school. I know I'm kind of backtracking here, but we went to a bowling alley, and I got a strike, a spare, another strike, and then like a 9, and I got like 100 points, and all my friends were impressed, and I had the time of my life. So for that weekend, I told my dad, can we go bowling? And that started to be our thing, because my dad was in a few bar leagues in the past. He was already pretty good, and we started bowling together, and that became our thing. That became our passion, and I became really, really good at bowling. I was averaging what the pros were averaging, and I had ambitions and dreams of going pro. I had like a $300 scholarship from a tournament that I won. We were winning all the little minor tournaments we were in, and I was getting really good, as you can see in these 2 video clips. I hope that you enjoy that I'm including pictures and videos so you guys could see how the people in my life looked, and I think it adds a little bit. And who cares? It's my life. I'll do whatever I want. I'll draw it however I want. So this is how good I was getting. I was just showing off. Oh no, it's going into the gutter. No, it's not. I put so much curve on that 15-pound ball that it curves all the way across the lane to hit the 7-pin. Look at me standing tall. Did you see that? So, anyways, fast forward to senior year. I skipped school one day because I wasn't really interested in high school at that point. Honestly, I felt like it wasn't doing too much for me, and I thought more about the time after school and what I was going to do, how I was going to have fun, hang out, how I'm going to make some money so we can go out this weekend. And that's what I was looking forward to most often. And I lost a lot of interest in high school because I figured I'm not going to use the Pythagorean theorem or whatever it's called in my everyday life after high school. So one day I end up skipping a bunch of my classes, and after hanging out with my friend for a little bit, I asked him to take me home. And I opened my door and I noticed my mom is home, and I was like, what? She should be at work. What is this? This doesn't make sense. I'm gonna be in trouble. But then I noticed she was crying on the bed. I'm like, oh, this can't be good. And I get the news that my dad last night has slipped and bumped his head and passed away. And that broke me. That was really devastating because my dad was my hero at that point. I looked forward to going bowling with him. And the thing was, 2 weeks later, I had my first major bowling tournament, and I couldn't bring myself to a bowling alley in 2 weeks, let alone 2 years. It was hard for me to step into another bowling alley for a while because that was my dad's and my thing. Like, we did that all the time. So my dad passes away, and I could not go to school, let alone talk to anybody for 2 weeks. I was just in my cave. Luckily, it was during winter break, so I skipped 2 weeks of school before winter break and had 2 weeks left. And I wasn't really ready to go back to school, but I figured I have to. I took off too long already. And so I go back to school, and one of my new classes, because after spring break or winter break you get new classes, one of my classes was woodworking. And I was like, man, I can't do this, man. It reminds me too much of my dad. So for the last half of senior year, I skipped like half my classes. I didn't care whatsoever. I was depressed. I would barely go out and talk to anybody. Even my 7th Street friends, they couldn't get me outside of the house for a while. So what eventually got me out of this depression is me skipping school, going to my 7th Street friend's house when he wasn't there, and he had a 32-inch flat screen TV, a PlayStation 3, an internet connection, and Call of Duty 4, and a bunch of weed. And that's what I would do. I would just play Call of Duty 4 religiously, and that helped me escape my reality, my depression. And I really fell in love with Call of Duty. So a few months go by, right before graduation, and I end up saving up for a PS3 from eBay, and we're playing for like a month straight Call of Duty 4 at my house in the basement. We had this little That 70s Show like hangout place. It was amazing. And then the PS3 breaks. I have to send it into Sony to get a little disc fixed or something. It took like 2 weeks, so we were bored for 2 weeks. We ended up buying some BB guns, shooting things in the back alley, shooting lights out, just being hooligans with it around the hood. And what happens is my friend goes to shoot a bird. He thinks he hits it. He goes to investigate 2 houses down. There's fences in between each house. He's bending over, and there's a little hole in the fence, maybe 2 inches wide. And I'm like, I can shoot him. So I pump up my gun like 14 times, and I shoot. I aim at him, and I actually hit him through the fence. And he is furious at this point. He wants revenge. He had a BB gun too. I should have thought this through. And I'm looking at him, and my dumbass is popping my head out. Like, there's a fence that's 4 feet tall. I'm like 5'6". So my big ass head is the only thing showing. He aims for me, shoots me straight in the eye with a metal BB. I drop my gun. I go inside. I can't see anything out of my left eye. I'm totally blind for 3 days after I get shot. So I'm missing more school now. I'm just laying down in my bed with ice over my eye, and I'm just telling my mom I'm sick, go away, please don't, I have this headache. And she doesn't know for a while, and I end up going back to school because I have to. It's almost graduation time and I haven't shown up for like half of the second last week. So I have these glasses trying to conceal it, and then I have to take off my glasses for class, and then all my friends are like, what the fuck happened to you? And I'm like, oh, nothing, don't worry about it. And then I end up putting on my glasses again, but I miss and I poke my eye with the part that goes on your ear, so it hurts even more, and I end up telling my mom I got shot. She's flipping out, he's freaking out. We go to the doctor. I have a traumatic cataract. I have to go to surgery. I could have got the BB stuck in my head and died, but thankfully it was just a eye surgery that a lot of old people have, and now I can kind of see out of my left eye. I can barely read out of it, but I got shot in my eye with a BB gun. I was one of those. I'm a statistic. I'm one of those freaking statistics. 1 in 20,000 people get shot in the eye with a BB gun. I'm one of those people. God darn it. I'm a freaking statistic. So I graduate freshly off of surgery, and I go there. I'm like super baked. I have this long hair. I'm crying because I'm gonna miss everybody. I get emotional. I'm hugging everybody. My time to graduate. I do the Macarena because I'm so happy. I'm like, yes, get me out of here, freedom! I dance off the stage. I get the freak out of there as fast as I possibly can, and I have no clue what I'm gonna do next at this point. I graduate high school. I can't be a carpenter. I signed up for college for carpentry. My dad passes away. There's no way I can do that. I just said no, can't do that, so that's off of the list. I could have became a pro bowler. That's off of the list. Now I'm thinking about joining the military at this point, or find some kind of job that I'm gonna end up hating just so I can get paid. But a few months after I graduate, I'm still looking for the jobs. I'm still on the hunt. My mom's kind of pressuring me to either go to college or find the job, and she gets breast cancer again. It comes back with a vengeance, says the doctor. And she already went through breast cancer when I was in like 10th grade. She beat it. She did the chemo, everything. But now it came back, and I had to take care of her. I had to put my life on pause, the little life that I did have, and I had to take care of her because she raised me by herself, and she was having trouble like doing just regular things, going to the bathroom, and just maintaining a house definitely was way too much for her. So I kind of put my life on hold. I was taking her to the chemo, being there with her while she was, doing all that, and just taking care of her. And to be honest, it was some of my favorite times with my mom, not because she was sick, but just because we got to spend a lot of time together. We were both, while I was turning into an adult and we can have actual conversations with each other. I smoked some pot with her a bunch, and it was just nice hanging out with her and doing things for her and making her happy, and that was definitely nice. And at the same time, I had a bunch of free time on my hands while she didn't need anything, while she was watching her Judge Judy or just having a good time doing whatever. So I started to go on the internet, and I saw my friend from high school have a YouTube channel. He was getting like 50 views per video, and I was like, if he can do it, then I could do it. Anybody could do it, and it looks really fun. So I started making a lot of silly YouTube videos, and back then there was no prospect of getting money, especially if you were a gamer. So what I ended up doing was like stacking some books on a chair and a table, and then pointing this really crappy camera from like 2003 that wasn't even a camcorder, but it had a camcorder function, pointed it at a TV, and started recording World at War gameplay videos. And I started to grow a small following, and it was the most exciting thing in the world. I was getting like 50 views of video, and I would tell my mom, even though she had no idea what was going on. But after I told her so much, like, she eventually started to know what was happening with the YouTube scene, and it was really, really exciting for me. But at the same time, my mom was getting sicker and sicker, and we kind of knew they didn't really give me a date, but I kind of knew that she wasn't going to get better and the cancer would never go away. But I still hoped that it would calm down at least and just be idle and maybe retreat a little bit. But at the same time, when I was doing my YouTube videos, my mom was still pressuring me, like, I'm not going to be here forever. You're going to need to find something to do with your life. And I believed in YouTube because that feeling that I had when I first started doing it, it was too amazing to just step away. And I knew something was going to come from this. So I kept on doing my YouTube videos and just kept on growing the audience in World at War. And then it got really, really bad. My mom was at the hospital a bunch, and she was having really severe stomach issues, and she was eating through a tube and stuff, and eventually the cancer won, and she fought so hard, and it was difficult seeing her go through that, and she passed away a few days before Modern Warfare 2 came out. And I remember that date because I remember just playing that game, playing it more, because when I was gaming, I was Whiteboy7thst. I wasn't Alex. I wasn't, a guy that just lost everything, a guy that really didn't have much going on for him. So I just started playing Modern Warfare 2 and smoking a lot of weed. Weed was antidepressant for me. Like, I would smoke. Weed was hand in hand with my everyday life activity. I would wake up, smoke. I would eat cereal, smoke. Take a shower, smoke. Game, smoke. Smoke in the pregame lobby like 4 times. And it just became part of my life and part of my escape. YouTube, Call of Duty, and marijuana was an escape for me for a long time, and I just became kind of this habit. I wouldn't go outside. I didn't talk to any of my 7th Street friends for a while. I just wanted to be inside and play my games and honestly not think about it, just get my mind off of it. And it worked, and it was a distraction. YouTube was a great distraction. I started to gain an audience. I started Modern Warfare 2 with like 1,800 subs and ended it with like 37,000 or something, and it was amazing. The community was growing and I was growing. And then during the Modern Warfare 2 time, I got a life-changing email from Machinima saying that we will pay you to upload to our channel that already had like 250,000 subscribers. That was already the #1 hub for Call of Duty videos. And they chose me, one of the first few commentators. They chose me to be on there, and it was huge for me because I've been doing this already for like a year, and there's a lot of other people blowing up. I wasn't really recognized when I first started, but as soon as Machinima picked me up, I started putting the best videos that I could possibly make, the best gameplays that I could possibly get up there, and I started to grow a fan base. And at the same time, I could get paid, and I didn't really have too many bills. My mom left me the 7th Street house, but it still had a mortgage on it. I still had to pay the water bill and the gas bill, but I still had a little bit of money from my dad passing away as well, so I could get over for at least a year. So I took a chance and I started doing YouTube full time, and then the original Black Ops came out. And at that time, I was just smoking way too much, and I started to get sick. I went to the emergency room because I felt that my body wasn't working right, and I ended up quitting smoking on that New Year's for my New Year's resolution, the year of Black Ops, the New Year's, and I started to blow up on YouTube. It was crazy to see when I stopped smoking and the increase of subscribers and views. It was like at that same time, and started to bring in some actual money, and I thought this was too good to be true. I'm living the dream, a dream that I didn't even know I had, but it was so amazing. My depression starts to go away. I start to go outside the house, talk with my 7th Street friends again, make videos with them for the first time in my life, travel, get on a plane, go to Los Angeles, travel all around the United States, go down to Georgia to hang out with my buddy FPS Russia for 3 months, and I meet my girlfriend Kelly, or K-pop, down there, and that began to get very serious because we just had so much in common, and it was awesome just hanging out with her. So she lived in Chicago, me in Milwaukee, which is about 80 miles away, so we got to visit each other every weekend at her dorm or at my 7th Street house. And one weekend while I was visiting her at her house, my 7th Street house got broken into, and they absolutely trashed the place. They took my PlayStation, they took my TV that I saved up for, all my controllers, all of my games. They wrecked my little memorial to my mom and dad I had set up on this little shelf. They just went through it like it was nothing, and that was the time where I said to myself, I gotta move, I gotta get out of here. So we rented a house for a year in the middle of the woods. Kelly moved in with me. The channel hit like 1 million subscribers, 400 million views. YouTube is going great. I'm having a good time playing Slender, all kinds of scary games, and doing the Modern Warfare 3 stuff. And Black Ops 2 comes out, and now we're here, and it just keeps on getting better and better and better, because I have you guys out there who spent 32 minutes of your life to watch a little bit of mine, and I appreciate that. I definitely had some struggles and a lot of ups and downs, like I said, but if you can learn anything from me, is you can do anything. I was in a really low place, and I got out of it because I just had a passion for this thing I loved. I never thought I could get paid, make a living off of playing video games, but honestly guys, if you have something that you like, I guarantee you somebody else out there likes it, and the internet brings us all together, and they're gonna search for something they like. And if you like cool stuff, other people are gonna like cool stuff, and you can do whatever you want, no matter what hand you're dealt in life. You can make it, and it's awesome. So thank you guys. And to continue the story, David Spielberg and James Cameron saw this video and decided to make a trilogy documentary, a first of its kind, on the myth, the legend, and the story of Whiteboy7th Street. And I lived happily ever after, traveling the world, dolphin diving in every city around the world, meeting my goats, and spreading my swag across the lands. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. It took me like literally 24 hours of total work time to get this done, but I think it was well worth it, and it was nice looking back on my life and to see where I came from to where I am now. So thank you for sharing this experience with me.